Silversound, and today I just wanted to talk a little bit about what rhythm roughly is. So, when we think of rhythm, this is the core of music. When we think of music, normally we just think of the pitches A, B, C, D, E, F, G with sharps or flats. So we have 12 total tones. That's a big half of what gives us the color and vocabulary of music, but rhythm is the universal thing that every musician uses to create space within all of this. So if we're thinking of time, just like we're reading like a clock or we're driving somewhere or so on, there's this imaginary timeline always constantly running from here to here. So if we're thinking in the sense of our days, for example, day starts here. We wake up in the morning, we brush our teeth about here, get dressed, eat breakfast, go to school, and then so on down the line like that. Time is constantly going. And it's the same thing in music too. But the cool thing with music is that when we think of music, we think of how fast things are moving and then how to place things within them. So when we think of rhythm, it's just we decide whether to hit or not to hit within this expanding point of time. So when we're reading music and first getting into music, the first thing we have to understand is tempo. So tempo is the rhythm idea of everything being revolved around a pulse or a feel. So whenever you're listening to a song and you start bobbing your head to it or tapping your foot, that's what's called the tempo or the pulse. This is what defines what note we're going to count and what notes will go in between those or so on and so forth. I hope you're still with me. This is kind of complex stuff. So when we think of time, we have our tempo, which determines how fast things move. And then we have our time signature, which determines how we count. So we all know how to count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. In music, we do that all the time. We count to 4, and then we start over again. When we start over, we go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. This helps solidify phrases and ideas. So when we play a groove, for example, we think of our tempo. In this case, we're going to pick something slow tempo. So a pulse that's kind of like, uh, 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 so on like that. When we play with a metronome, that thing is called the pulse. Well, however fast or however slow you set the metronome determines how fast or how slow your pulse is. So if we're thinking in common time, which is 4/4 time signature, which means we count to 4, and the quarter note gets the beat, or the 4 gets the beat. Because if we think of a quarter note, 1/4 of something is 1/4 of something. So 4 quarters equals 1 whole. So in 4/4, if we have a whole note, it's 4 counts long of a hit. So 1, 2, ready, go. And that's a whole note. And so we can fill in more space in there by adding more rhythms in between that. So we can start going into half notes, which 1/2 and 1/2 makes a whole, or 2 and 2. We get 2 of them. So and then, of course, we go to quarter notes where there's 4 of them. Which is the one that we more commonly understand. And so from 4/4, which was that last one we just did, now we can add notes in between these notes, or these quarter notes, which we call eighth notes, 16th notes, dotted eighth notes, triplet eighth notes, triplet 16th notes, so on, and so on. So we can fit more notes in between there. So now that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, double of 4 is 8, or double of a quarter note is an eighth note. So we get 8 hits within that 4/4. So if we're still counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So just to kind of recap everything again, we're thinking of everything in 4/4 right now. A whole note is all 4 clicks. Half note is 2 clicks. So on 1 and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ah, 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 or ah, so on like that. Quarter note, 4 of them in 4. So 4, 4. Ah, 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 ah. Eighth notes, now we double that amount, so now we have 8 of them within 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sorry, I just realized I went into 7, 8 on you instead of 4, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And then, of course, double of 8 is 16. So 16 note, we get 16 notes within that measure of 4, 4. Or in this case, within every quarter note, we have 4 notes. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1. Just how with eighth notes, we have 2 of them within each quarter note. 1 and 2 and 3, and so on down the line. So obviously then if I say 32nd notes, that means we have 32 of them within that whole measure. And that means we're going to have 8 of them within each quarter note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1. Or digga, 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 da. So on down the line. So as a drummer, we have to understand tempo and time signature and all the different rhythms so we're able to create that amount of space that we need to as a drummer. But not only as drummers do we need to know this, guitarists need to know this, vocalists need to know this, bass players need to know this. Rhythm is that universal sense of time that we place, our notes that we play in certain points of the song. So a measure or a bar is that count to 4, and that's it. So for one measure, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. The next measure, 1, 2, 3, 4. So a lot of the time when we're counting measures, you'll see a lot of people go 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they're keeping time of the quarter notes, but they're also keeping the measure by, instead of saying 1, they'll say which measure they're on. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2. But those numbers, even though we're not saying 1, they are still the 1 or the downbeat of the measure. So then 4 is the upbeat of the measure. So we're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the reason that they're called the up and the down beat is because on 4, the up makes us anticipate that we're coming back to 1. And then 1 is like we land flat and even. 1. So, like if we were conducting 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. That 4 is the anticipation of going to 1. So upbeat, downbeat, so on just like that. I hope this was a good explanation of what rhythm is and basic ideas of rhythm. But if you guys are still confused about it, don't hesitate to ask me or any of the other instructors here, because we just want to make sure that you understand everything that you can do so you have the most fun with your instrument.